Talk about low-budget flights. No food or movies? I'm out of here. I like running better. Welcome back, YouTube viewers, to another video. So, today's video is probably going to be my shortest one, which is and I do mean pretty short too, because if you look at the length of a lot of my videos, well, sure, some of them are, I don't know, 12 minutes or something. Others can be quite long. But today's just one I've always wanted to make, and I felt like doing right now. So today I'm going to be going over SpongeBob's most underrated episode, Krusty Towers. I love this episode. Yes, SpongeBob's golden age was the first 3 seasons. Everybody can agree on that. But season 4 had some really great episodes that you just don't hear people talking about that much. I mean, this one is paired up with Mrs. Puffy or Fired, which is also a pretty great episode. Without further ado, let's do it to it. Okay, so we have to start off with why this episode even exists, the plot even happened, which has to do with Mr. Krabs. So Mr. Krabs says that he says, remember, why did you build a hotel, Mr. Krabs? I'm glad you asked that, son. Remember when I went to that fast food convention and stayed at that fancy hotel? And so, yeah, he stayed at this hotel where everything was pretty much perfect. They catered to you in every single way, and you loved it. Until I got the bill. They charged me for everything. $25 for a hamburger. And if they could charge that much for a lousy hamburger, imagine how much I could charge for a lousy Krabby Patty. So yeah, he turns the Krusty Krab into the Krusty Towers Hotel. It's just another money-making scheme from him, and this is I think this may be Mr. Krabs' best episode. It perfectly encapsulates his personality of just being a greedy guy. That's it. And this is how far he takes it, or he even gives his hotel the same motto as the one he went to. We shall never deny a guest, even the most ridiculous request. Which of course means that people end up taking advantage of this, and it's just done so well. I also like seeing his descent into madness toward the end, which has to do with Squidward. So, I like that in this episode, you don't really see a bunch of people come to this hotel and it gets crowded, and then Mr. Krabs starts to go crazy and then they shut it down at the end. That's not what happens, which so very easily could have been the plot. Instead, it's, okay, we see one guy show up and Mr. Krabs says, if you want the crowd you had, you'll have to rent a room and order room service. And he says, I've only got an hour for lunch. Suit yourself. So the one real customer we see is Patrick. And since Squidward has to cater to his every whim, he just has to go through complete misery. Like, he can't take the elevator. He has to walk upstairs. Mountains of stairs with Patrick's super heavy suitcases, which, what do these have? Rocks? Hey, these are rocks. Patrick, why is your suitcase full of rocks? I don't tell you how to live your life. And eventually Squidward gets so fed up with all this nonsense that he quits, and then he just comes in as a customer and takes complete advantage of Mr. Krabs, slowly driving him insane. It's just hysterical the way it goes about it. Also, I like how Squidward isn't just tortured in this episode like he is in a lot of later episodes of SpongeBob. Mr. Krabs gets his comeuppance too, which is nice. And everything that happens here is just so gleefully absurd. Like how once Mr. Krabs gets so angry at Squidward, when Squidward has him and SpongeBob constantly do all this hard work, like saying that, this room is hideous, I want a different decor. So they go through this entire montage of them continuously changing it nonstop until it's right back to the way it was before. He says, perfect! He says, I want to go swimming. The pool's out back. You expect me to swim, outside? So Mr. Krabs built an indoor pool, and he says, is that all for ya? Maybe I should chew your food for ya, or extinguish the sun so the light don't get in your eye. Which, yeah, that just contributes to this episode's absurdity, like with Patrick. Sure, Patrick's best moment is probably is this the Krusty Krab? No, this is Patrick. But this has some of my other favorite lines of his. Like where he walks into the hotel, and Squidward gives him the book, they give you in hotels to write your name. And he says, I didn't know there'd be a test. I didn't study. And Squidward says, Patrick, all you have to do is write your name. He says, oh. And he glances at Patrick writing it, and he says, do you mind? Oh, whatever. And then once Patrick passes it, he just has this insane drawing of a war or something. And Squidward just says, close enough. Or how about when Squidward is a customer and he wants SpongeBob and Patrick, or no, SpongeBob and Mr. Krabs to give him cookies just like his mother used to make. And he says, these don't taste anything like Mom used to make. Well, how did your mother make them? How should I know? Ask my mother. So SpongeBob and Mr. Krabs knock on Squidward's mom's door and show up wearing ski masks and a giant bag, and then you see them trying to stuff a giant bag into the trunk of Mr. Krabs' car, and they're beating it with a shovel until you see Squidward's mom is there too, and she hits the shovel, and the bag is stuffed into the car, and SpongeBob says, "Now that Mr. Krabs' laundry is stuffed in the trunk, there's room for you to sit up front." I love those kinds of SpongeBob jokes. This episode just feels like a very early one, which I appreciate. And the ending is the hotel crashes on everybody, and they all go to the hospital. And Mr. Krabs says, "Oh, that hotel idea was a bad idea from the start." And then he sees the bill and says, "Oh!" And Squidward says, "You're not gonna have a heart attack, are you? Not at these prices. Forget hotels. This hospital racket is where the money's at. Pack your bags, boys. You're going to medical school. Hooray!" Oh no. Yeah, in conclusion, this is definitely one of my favorite episodes of SpongeBob. It's not even close. I'd say I don't have a favorite, but this is probably the one I've seen the most. There's just something about this one that's just so funny. And yeah, it's paired with Mrs. Puff Your Fire, which has the iconic, "Would anybody care for a bonbon? I'll eat one." Pick your favorite. How does it taste? It's a delightful taste sensation. No eating in my classroom! Yeah, go watch this episode again. It's really funny. I think people just tend to say every season of SpongeBob after season 3 there are some good episodes, pretty much everything after season 3 is bad or mediocre. Which just isn't true. I mean, just because Steven Hillenburg wasn't the showrunner anymore doesn't mean the show automatically got bad. So, comment down below. Did you ever see this episode? What did you think of it? That's all for now, and as always, keep on juicing.